Have breaking news to bring you from Westminster. We're going straight there. Our political editor, Christopher Hope, is outside number 10.
Hi Tom, I'm Emily. Yeah, I can reveal that Parliament is being recalled tomorrow to discuss the crisis of British Steel. Now, we know there have been talks ongoing for a while now with the Chinese owners of this company. Big concerns because Keir Starmer has been saying just this week he wants new rides to be built at this Universal resort they're constructing near Bedford. He wants new British Steel to be used in all the new spending we are going to commit on defence in coming years. But the actual last site in the UK at Scunthorpe, that is at risk of closure according to Chinese owners. It doesn't make enough money to justify keeping open. The deadline today is to order new coking materials and coal for this plant. Parliament is now being recalled tomorrow, Saturday. This is highly irregular. The last time it was recalled on a Saturday, I think from memory, was during the Brexit crisis. This never happens normally, but I can confirm from some very senior figures in authority it has been called tomorrow. That shows the scale of the crisis engulfing British Steel and the importance this government attaches to ensure a future for British steel making in the UK.
It's Christopher. Does it look as though the government could decide to go the whole hog and nationalise this industry tomorrow?
I think it does, Emily. I think it's been going there for a while now. I think that what we're seeing in the past few weeks with the tariffs and Donald Trump and the fact he's trying to reshore so much manufacturing work to America, I can see that happening here. We import so much steel from around the globe. We are highly vulnerable to steel tariffs, as we're seeing with those imposed on British steel as we speak anyway. So I think the mood music has changed. The world has changed, to quote the Prime Minister Keir Starmer. We're expecting probably to hear from someone senior in government later today, but we can confirm this hour that Parliament MPs are back in here in Westminster tomorrow to discuss a crisis in British Steel. Again, that hasn't happened, I think, from memory, for about 8 years. The last time I attended a Saturday sitting was the height of the chaos over the Brexit negotiations and trying to get a deal agreed by Parliament. And before that, I think there was some deployment of some UK forces overseas. But it's highly irregular. I certainly can't remember ever seeing MPs recalled over an issue of industry in the UK, but it shows how important this government now treats British Steel. It's important to our country as a PLC, to make sure that we can keep making steel in this country, given the issue of tariffs worldwide.
Chris, I've just been looking up the last Saturday sittings. I can only find 5 since the war, and they include responding to the Suez crisis, responding to the invasion of the Falkland Islands, debating the EU withdrawal agreement, and to pay tribute to Queen Elizabeth II. I mean, this is the scale of recalling Parliament mid-recess, especially on a Saturday.
Normally, we mock the Liberal Democrats for saying there needs to be Parliament recall for any reason they can think of, just to try and discombobulate MPs and Whitehall. But I think the scale and the immediacy of the crisis in British Steel and the importance that making steel in this country has now for this government after these Trump tariffs, and also not least for a Labour government supporting British industry, has lifted that way up the importance. It means they can't wait, frankly, until April the 22nd, Easter Tuesday, when the MPs were scheduled to return. It probably means lots of money being spent tomorrow, by the way, to fund nationalisation. I can't see that they'll be recalling Parliament simply to discuss the issue. Far more likely that they're doing it to approve big spending.
Yeah, and Chris, it's maybe very tricky economically and will cost a huge amount of money, but I assume it will be quite a popular policy overall.
I think it will be, Emily. I think that a lot of people on the left and right of politics do support failing industries, which we seen as being nationally, strategically important to us to be saved and to be preserved and run better. People often think about the rail nationalisation. That started under Grant Shapps when he was Transport Secretary in the last Conservative government. Other areas too, I think you can make a case, maybe the water industry with the issue of sewage, re-owning parts of our country, giving us all a stake back in things that are important to us, I think, is the new politics, and this government looks like it's gripping it. But there will be a cost to this yet again. There was positive news on the economy today, up 0.5% in February. That is surprising, but we haven't got a lot of money to spend, not a lot of headroom, as the term they use in government. So how they fund this, whether through borrowing or elsewhere, that'll be another issue too.
Yes, how much would this cost?
I mean, it would cost a huge amount of money, but we do subsidise steel anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that it's frankly an uncompetitive industry in this country. No private company has been able to make money with it, particularly because of our high energy costs in this country. But Chris, I wonder, do you think that the Labour government would be doing this if it weren't being trumpeted as a policy over the last week or so by Nigel Farage?
All roads sometimes lead back to Farage. I just think that what's happened here is the economics of making money in steel has changed. Given these 25% tariffs being imposed by America, it's much harder to guarantee we have the right supply of British steel. Not least, it's a very high quality being made in this country. But I think there's a feeling now that with these tariffs being imposed with China and America, certainly, and we want to make sure we can almost reshore elements of critical national industry, and part of that is clearly British steel.
I mean, it is just extraordinary to emphasise how unusual this is. But frankly, this also does put politics in a peculiar place, because we've got a party of the left and a party of the right that have been inching towards this policy anyway. This potentially is a difficult position for the Conservative Party to be put in. Instinctively, they would, of course, be against something like the nationalisation of this industry. How do you think the Conservative Party might respond to this, and might they change their mind given the changing mood of the country?
That's a great question. I mean, historically, you'd have thought that the Tory party would be loath to get involved with state involvement in industries. Notably, they privatised British Telecom, British Gas. Back in the day, the water companies, of course, Railtrack was the last major privatisation. They also privatised Kinetic, which is a defence intelligence company, back in 2004-05, I think, from memory. So it's very rare this happened, I think. And in fact, Labour fell in behind the issue of privatised industries. They think it's supported, but I think things have changed in recent years. I think with a feeling about almost giving our taxpayers a stake back in nationally important industries. That's important, I think, and that the last government, of course, backed away from privatising Channel 4 under some heavy shelling, of course, from those on the left who didn't want to see the private capital going into Channel 4. But I think there's a feeling, I think, in all politics now, is changing.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to give the Chancellor a headache, that's for sure. The finances are very tricky indeed. You spoke about the headroom. Well, not any headroom at all, it seems. The impact of the tariffs and everything else. Do you suspect Chancellor Rachel Reeves may have to speak to us again about difficult decisions?
Well, I mean, all choices for the Chancellor in the building behind me, 11 Downing Street, are difficult because they involve spending taxpayers' money. I think sometimes you're investing for the future. I mean, we are yet to see any detail on what's being. All we know is a simple fact that MPs are being recalled to the House of Commons tomorrow, and how rare that is. We don't know anything about what's being announced in Parliament. We don't know what the justification will be. We are trying to understand what's happening before we get the full information. But yeah, I think it looks like they're doing it now, urgently. They can't wait until April the 22nd. By then it might be too late for the British Steel Company, so that's why it's happening now, and therefore it implies money being spent, and how you fund that money, well, those are the big questions for the days ahead.
And we've just announced 450 million more for Ukraine, to support Ukraine. There's a lot of money being spent.
Yeah, and those tight fiscal rules that have repeatedly been committed to by this government. I mean, how are they going to find that? I mean, you spoke to the Prime Minister not so long ago about the idea that whether or not those fiscal rules are stuck to. What did he tell you?
Well, that's right. He said that he would stick to those fiscal rules in that the Q&A he did with us up in Jaguar Land Rover earlier this week. And I said to him on behalf of GBNews viewers and listeners, would you break that fiscal, the tax lock you put on your government at the last manifesto? That's not increasing national insurance for employees, we now know, as well as VAT and income tax. Now, he said that won't be changed, and he also said to others that he's not going to change those fiscal rules. They're sticking with these hard targets of control, of bringing down the borrowing within this Parliament, rather than having a rolling figure, which the Tories had, which meant we never actually got there, and that allowed them to keep borrowing if they had to. So whether borrowing has to go up, whether welfare must be cut to deal with this, we'll wait and see. But it does look like a big moment's about to happen in UK politics this weekend.
Absolutely, and sorry to keep you longer, but this is very, very interesting news. Tomorrow, so the House of Commons is going to be recalled tomorrow at 11 a.m. What will that look like? Who will be delivering a statement? How many MPs do you suspect will turn up for such a debate?
Do you have 11 a.m. confirmed there, Emily? If that's the case, that's what I've been hearing privately. If it's 11 a.m., we'll be seeing
I'll say report says for
the
now.
Prime Minister, maybe the Chancellor. Report saying 11, OK, well that sounds about right. But of course, the officials here, it's very costly, by the way, recalling Parliament. You have to get the doorkeepers in on a day off, the catering's got to be brought in. There's a cost just to, frankly, running Parliament. And that's why it's so rare it happens, because you have a whole kind of workforce that's got to be deployed, a security, make cups of tea for everybody. I mean, there's a whole kind of apparatus around the issue of recalling 650 MPs. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. The choreography, I fully expect the Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, to be in the chair to recall it, and then we'll have a statement maybe from Jonathan Reynolds, who's the Business Secretary, maybe even the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, he'll be sitting with Jonathan Reynolds almost certainly, and maybe the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, may want to say something about the funding. Again, we don't know what will happen. It might be a bill being voted on in a single day. That can happen to nationalise British Steel. That would just immediately take this issue of the future of the steel company off the books of this Chinese business and give it to our taxpayers. You can pass legislation in a day. It's happened before, normally in times of national emergency involving terror and security. Very rare in this situation. But again, I go back to the beginning there. I do think that the importance of having a UK making steel company, a UK-based company making steel, is now seen as nationally critical, and that's why we're seeing this dramatic moment in politics happening tomorrow in Westminster.
OK, well, Christopher Hope, thanks for being there with this breaking news live on Downing Street. I hope you won't mind if we come back to you a little bit later in the programme as we learn a little bit more.